I mean, for those of you who know me, know that I like to keep it 100s, and therefore this is not gonna be a full detailed review here, because I think we have way more important things to discuss today. Let's just not pretend that the Surface Pro 6 is anything that it isn't. This is nothing more than a Surface Pro 5 with an updated CPU, and all it boils down to is better performance, better battery life, and what we also get as a bonus is improved Windows Hello. That's it. But ever since the Surface Pro 4, already back then I said this is the best Windows convertible out there. It was super impressive. But then came the 5, which for me actually wasn't enough of an upgrade to even review it, so I skipped that because I thought the 6 is gonna be the big thing. And it isn't really, because, I mean, I have to say, the 6, I mean, many can agree, because of the lack of USB-C and so on, this is a disappointing upgrade. But even this disappointing upgrade is an updated version of what already was 2 years ago the best Windows convertible out there. I can say this with quite some confidence, because I have 2 more here, like for example the X1 ThinkPad from Lenovo. Costs way more and isn't better. We have the Dell Latitude 5290, isn't really better but more expensive. I mean, I also have the Surface Go here, but that doesn't really count. So what I also want to discuss though in this video is if you should maybe rather go for the 5 if you don't need the little bit of an upgrade, what I think it is after all, on the 6, because you can save like $300 by now, at least from what I've seen, if you just go for the by now discounted version of the 5. I mean, it's definitely nice what they improved. But if that's worth 300, I mean, the Surface Pro 5, like I said, is already the best. So let's just quickly go over a few things. Design-wise, this thing is still stellar. It feels super solid, feels super nice done, and yeah, we don't really have to discuss it. No USB Type-C, huge bummer, but at least it has I mean, yeah, that's that, and all the display port that many people won't use. The dock connector, which is kinda, yeah, a little bit unnecessary if they would have just used Type-C, volume controls and everything else, but that's not really important. What is important here, the stand works great, and what I also just have to say, this is significantly the most compact of those standalones or convertibles, and is also by far the lightest. And this makes a difference, because if I have this one with 13 inches or this one with also about the same size as this one, but being noticeably heavier, this is just so much easier to use, and we get still what is pretty much one of the best keyboards that is not on a laptop, and this actually beats many laptops because you get great tactile feedback, you get 2 steps of backlight. This feels super nice. You get a super nice trackpad. I mean, it's not the biggest one, but executed really well. And we get a pen. I mean, personally, I kind of prefer what the S Pen does. It feels even more so natural, but this behaves well. We have great points. We have the button here. It attaches to the sides, obviously, and we have the razor. So also this does make a great job. So what you get here is a great package. Like I said, Windows Hello is actually improved over the 5, definitely way faster than the Surface Go, and it feels to work out in pretty much every situation, so absolutely top. Display, let's just keep it short. Better than the Lenovo because higher res. Maybe not quite as high res as the Lenovo X1, but it's very well calibrated, it's super bright, colors look amazing. They did a fantastic job here. I mean, it's a great aspect ratio of 3:2. I personally prefer 16:10, but for a tablet it makes total sense. So that's that. Speakers, let's keep it really short. It blows the X1 out of the water because that one actually sounds worse than most phones, and it is better than the Dell, which I actually thought last year sounded better. I'm not quite sure what it's about, and it is also noticeably louder than the Surface Go. So this beats even many laptops out there. Great stereo front-facing sound, top. This is loud enough for pretty much every situation, unless you really need it loud, and that gets something like Bluetooth. Which brings me to the performance. Performance is great. I mean, the cold boot is a little bit long with like 12 seconds. I mean, I don't know why it's actually taking that long, but the performance here is actually something that I have to tell you is not that big of a difference for normal users. I mean, yes, you get like, in theory, 60% more than you get on the predecessor, which was only dual core, which is nice to have. But if I just use, for example, the browser, I mean, Edge runs perfect. And we don't have the issue that I had on the Go. If we, for example, use Firefox, even that one by now runs so well, actually way better than Chrome. Chrome still works a little bit janky, not my favorite, so I would stick with Firefox if I needed to get some things done, because this is syncing with everything. But for normal tablet use, Edge just kills it. And obviously you can still do whatever you would kind of want to do, because now with the quad core you could even edit videos on that one. Obviously this is still not a powerhouse because this is the passive version, so no fan. And just like last year's version, it will throttle actually quite quickly, so it's not quite as good in terms of performance like the X1 or like the Dell, because those have fans and they don't really throttle nearly as much. But for just normal casual work where you only have bursts of performance needs with turbo and so on, this still does the job great. And this is for every normal user more than enough. It's super nice and fast. But I also have to say that the dual core version wasn't really perceivably that much weaker, so great. I mean, it's also quite cool. It gets a little bit warm, obviously, if you push it all the time and there is no fan, but it stays completely silent. That's the important thing. And now about battery life. When I used it for the first few days with Firefox, with Chrome, with Edge, and doing all my normal stuff with a brightness of about 60%, which was already worst case scenario, so higher use, I got 6 hours. Wait, that maybe doesn't sound that impressive, but for my use, it actually is. Now, if I used, for example, just Edge and just watch the video, I could get like 8.5 hours, maybe even sometimes more, especially if you lower the brightness. But I would say on a mixed use, mostly sticking with with Edge, but sometimes Firefox just because I need it, and usually apps and so on from the store. 7 hours should be actually quite easy for me to achieve, maybe even 7.5, which means many people out there should get easily 8-9 hours more. Now, what's the difference here compared to the Surface Pro 5? I mean, since I didn't have it, I can't tell for sure, but from what I've read, it seems like a common thing that you can expect 1 hour more. But if you just keep that in mind, you get 1 hour more and you get more performance. But that's the main difference besides the Windows Hello thing. So is that worth $300 more? I mean, I don't think so. Yes, read speeds and write speeds of the SSD also improved. But that's a little bit marginal of a thing because, I mean, what else is there to say? Software, Windows, we don't have to talk about it. So let's all get to the conclusion. This is easily the best Windows convertible out there. I mean, yes, I think still for just standalone tablet use, it is a little bit too big. I would actually say that 11.6 inches or something would have been the sweet spot, because the Surface Go, I mean, let's just compare these two side by side, is noticeably smaller. And even though I like the form factor, this is sometimes, if you just want to get something properly done, too small. And this, if you are using it more as a laptop, it's great, but more as a tablet, it's a little bit too big. That's just that. But build quality, fantastic. Display, pretty much the best out there. The speaker is the best. The performance, maybe not on a longer term, but for normal use, absolutely. Battery life is also very, very, very good, and even way more than good enough for me on a normal case. So, easy recommendation if you are willing to spend more, because I just thought about it last times I did my research for what the older one is available and so on, and you can get the i5 with 128 gigabytes, at least here sometimes for like $750 or something like that. I mean, that's a super low price, but even if you take something higher, I usually found to be a price difference between the 128 gigabyte version of the 6 and the 5 to be at least of a minimum of $300, if not sometimes $400. And I think that even though I haven't used the 5, this is too much. If they come closer, and I would say 100, not thinking about it, get the 6, maybe 150 also. But as long as we are at 200 plus, and you don't need that hour more extra battery life, and you don't need the extra performance of the quad core if you just do normal things, if you just want to replace your normal laptop for writing documents and all this and don't really want to edit videos, or just need 4 cores. I mean, that's something that you have to know on your own. You have to know, do I need a quad core, or is the dual core totally enough? I would actually say it is absolutely enough for me, because, for example, here is what I've been using since it was released, the Xiaomi Mi Book 12, the 12.5 incher. And as you can see, these are actually pretty much identical in terms of size. Yes. Okay, now here's the funny part. If we use the type cover and the Surface Pro 6, the Surface Pro is actually about 20 grams heavier than this one. Obviously, we get no touchscreen here, no pen support. It's way cheaper. It's using an I think it's the M5 that I have here, M3. It's M3. So this is not quite as powerful. It has super nice display, but not on the level of a Surface Pro. It has very good battery life though. Obviously, this is better, but it also costs like, by now, at least twice as much. Actually more. The Surface Pro 5 would be twice as much, but still. If you want to use it more as a laptop, you maybe need a quad core. But I can tell you that using an M3 for the last, since it was released year and a half or so, I never needed it. I would be good with an M3 version. So I don't see the need for the 6. Battery life should be good enough on a 5 as well. So that's it. I mean, think about it. Do you need it? Do you want it? I mean, if you want the black one, I mean, I don't think that's enough of a reason to switch. So, especially with the part that this one is not coming with USB Type-C. I mean, it's disappointing. There is a reason. I don't want to really get into that. PCIe lanes and so on. They needed Whiskey Lake. They didn't. They made it wrong because, for example, this has 2 Thunderbolt 5s and even the Dell Latitude. I mean, that's the big thing here. 2 USB Type-Cs and a USB Type-A. And the same everything else. So if you get around it, you can do it. But it's the best. If you want the best, this is it. If you want the second best, go for the 5 and you can save a lot of money. That's my conclusion. And I hope it was helpful. See you next time. Bye.